Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Today we're going to be working on a Daiwa Saltiga. It's the star drag, not the lever drag. It's the 20, which is the narrow frame. And we just did one not too long ago on a Shimano Trinidad. And boy, if these don't almost look the same. Same owner, but different reel. So we'll take this apart. We'll show you how to service this one and how to get it going again, ready to go fishing for the spring season. So we're going to start, as we normally do, by taking off the exterior pieces. A couple of things that I always mention as we start these videos. One of them is that I wear a protective glove on my hand to keep the grease and junk out of there, since I generally don't know what's inside these reels. Also, I pull a schematic of the reel if you want to follow along. If you get stuck somewhere with a piece or a part, you don't quite remember where it came from. Schematics are good, so I'll keep that on hand in case I get stuck. I take videos. I recommend that folks take videos, or at a minimum take some kind of just trying to find it. There you go. The Penn reels handle wrench fits the Saltiga. Take videos along the way, take pictures, use your cell phone camera, use a regular digital camera, whatever, in case you get stuck, you know where to look to find your way to unstick yourself. Okay, there's a little thick washer that goes on top of the star adjuster, and then we should be able to back the star adjuster off. And these are good things to try and keep in sequence here, because as you go to reinstall, from time to time you can get confused, especially with the number of washers and the like. So I'm going to put that right back into the star adjuster. Next up was that click mechanism. And then we have the bearing. So we're down to the point where the case itself is ready to come off. Excuse me, I have a little bit of a hoarse voice. These look like they're Phillips heads, but they're not. They're some kind of a machine tool, but the flat-bladed screwdriver works. And as I mentioned on most of my videos, when I take side plate screws off, I like to lay them all out on the table and make sure that they're the same length before I go much further. In this case, I'm noticing that these side plate screws have a little bit of salt buildup on them from no doubt from use and getting splashed on and the like. So I'm going to lay them there. I'm going to put a quick little dose of WD-40 on them before I put them into the tray, try and get rid of some of that salt buildup there. These are, I believe, aluminum cased reels, and so they're a little bit susceptible to some of the typical rot that goes on with aluminum. So you should be cleaning these off. One of my viewers told me don't use Purple Power on it. It's a lye-based product, and lyes and aluminum don't get along. So I'll pass that along to you. But make sure you hose your reels off as you get done with a fishing session. It's just good practice. Okay, those 5 screws are all the same, so I just hit them with a little bit of that. We'll dry them off. And then we're just going to move them in the parts tray as well. The parts tray is nothing more than the bottom of a milk jug, but it serves its purpose. It keeps the parts near at hand, and especially small pieces and parts, it keeps them from bouncing around. Okay, 5 screws are out. We should be able to lift off then. We did. This one's got some dirt in it, so that's pretty much the primary job here right now, is to get this dirt and stuff cleaned up and out so that it can go fishing again. There's a little bit of accumulated old dried grease in that here. I want to take care of that for sure. We have there's a bearing shield. There's a gear sleeve. I'm going to push all of this out. There's a bearing shield, a bearing. There we go. So this is the assembly. You want to keep that in order. You have a bearing and a couple of shim washers, a little O-ring, and so on, and the bearing shield up top. So let's keep all of those together. I'm going to just keep that in a stack. And that's not even going to go into the tray because the tray will probably knock it down. So now we can get on with the cleaning. It looks like there's just some general dirt in here, so I'm just going to use a paper towel. Doesn't look like anything very serious. Maybe just some dried grease and the like. I'm not seeing sand or anything like that in there that would matter. Okay, we have a little bearing in the back here for the spool. I'm going to go put some oil on that. And oil up the mechanism for the trip. Alright, I'm going to set that off to the side then. Next up then we have the two springs that are riding for the yoke. I like to take those off and put them in the bucket. If those springs shoot, you get in trouble a lot. Then we have the little gear sleeve here. I'm getting caught up on. Let's see if I can pull it all out. There we go. Got the gear sleeve up. We have the yoke and the spool gear. We have the jack. And I'm just laying these right out on the table right now because I want to get to cleaning this. And then we have the anti-reverse dog set up on the click ratchet. Okay, so now we're on the back of the case and we can take care of the dirt there. Again, I start with just a paper towel. See how much of this we can just generally wipe off. Then I can get a little bit more specific with a cotton swab. Then we got some dirt on this. Remember the orientation on these. It's easy to get screwed up when you're working around with these anti-reverse levers and the like. But the best way to clean these is to make sure that they're off to begin with. Okay. And we're in good shape with that. I'm going to put that right back on. And that goes on onto the ring here, onto the post. And then you just want to make sure that that square is seated. And this is a little friction washer. And I just managed to have it come off. You can put it up again, do that for you. What happened was the friction, this little forked tooth is the friction that's going to cause the anti-reverse to remain tight. And I just, when I put it over, I bumped it onto the side and that knocked it off. So just be patient with it. It's not going anywhere. That's better. Then we just need to line the square up. And that's how it's going to go. When you're turning, you're fine. And then the tooth is going to grab it and pull it back in when you're trying to backpedal. Okay, just cleaning up the rest of that shaft there. Clean up the jack assembly. And since we just wiped off all the grease, we can put some fishing reel grease back on the bottom, underneath the side of the jack mechanism, and a little bit on the top. And then we could just slide that into place here. There's a stud that it rides on, and there's a hole where the stud from the eccentric is going to seat to move that up and down. Okay, now we're on to the yoke mechanism. Just want to clean that off as well. Clean off the spool gear. Check the spool gear's teeth. Make sure that they're all symmetrical, that there's no bends in them or broken teeth or the like. Do the same thing here with the greasing of this then. Then we can reseat this. Pay attention to the way it came off. Alright, we're on that. Now we can get over to the gear side assembly here. That's a hard fabric washer. You don't need to do anything with that. We're just going to pull the drags, make sure that they're in good condition, clean up any kind of debris that may be in there. And there's some dirt and debris in here, so we're going to go ahead and and take these out as well. Okay, clean up the bottom one here. Now these have an alternating set of, these are hard washers. You don't need to do anything with them, but they're dirty washers, so we do need to do it. And there's an example of why I like to use that glove. If I could use one on both hands, I would. But unfortunately, I don't work very well with the one on my dominant hand. Okay, we're going to reseat the main gear. We're going to take a look at that, make sure all of the teeth are in good condition. And go grab the grease and make sure that we put a nice little dose of grease on there. Don't put too much on there, it'll just fly off and go around, but enough to make sure that it's lubricated. Reseat the main gear. And then we can clean these. We have one in there already. These are hard washers. They don't need anything in terms of lubrication. We have a round one. We have an eared one goes next. They alternate. The eared or keyed washer has the points on them. Just make sure they're clean and that they're free of debris. That's the biggest issue. Those ears ride in the channels inside the main gear. And we just alternate. Last of the hard, last of the... Now this is coming off with a paper towel. If it was more stubborn, you could go to a steel wool, for example. Get it off that way, but this one's doing fine. I keep these little pointers around, these awls. They make it a lot easier on me to seat things like that. Last of the hard washers then. And we have this cap washer. And then this has got a fork on it. Just trying to get it clear here. There's a little bit of gunk in the channel here we want to get free. There we go. Alright, so we're seated back on the main stack there, and all of this can go on now. So there's keeping them in the right order now. And I have an O-ring here that's slipped off. So let's make sure we get that proper. There we go. And we have a small shim washer. We have a bearing shield. And we have the bearing assembly. Then we have the flex washers. And we're ready to put the top back on, except for the springs. But essentially that's how you set up the main gear assembly. Let's give it a spin here. There's a little bit of junk still left, but we're in good condition there, so we should be able to seat that. Now we want to pay attention to the stud. That stud has got to line itself into the... That little thing just keeps wanting to go away. That's some debris from my bench. Okay, we've oiled the bearings. It's time to reinstall. Bring that in from the top. we didn't match, we didn't mate that. We're trying to mate the, there we go, we mated. You have to get that stud into the hold fast there. Okay, so that goes in. Let's put a couple of side plate screws in to hold that on. We noticed that they were all the same. So let's get them back the way that they came in. And I'm holding tension on there because we have the springs in there, and that's going to shoot the case if we don't get that right. So go north, south, east, west on this. That'll hold the tension proper for these cases. If you go in a circular pattern, either clockwise or counterclockwise, you may have it bind. You don't want to go do that. Now this is a point where you, I've got a couple of pieces and parts laying around here that you might question. That's where a schematic would come into play. You go back and take a look and make sure that you have them in the proper sequence. And it's always good to have on hand as a reference point. For example, I had that stack in at once, but I just took it out in 2 pieces, so you might want to go back and check, make sure that it's proper. One more screw here. And I'm using a hand-driven screwdriver here. A lot of people ask about the mechanical ones. I don't recommend that, particularly when you're working on something like this with an aluminum case. Let's just give this a spin, make sure that it's spinning nicely, which it is. Okay, so then we can go to this and we can actually see the way that these are lining up. So we have that O-ring assembly with the gear and then the bearing. So that would be this. And we call for the bearing. Then we have the bearing shield. Okay, then the bearing shield goes on, and then we have these 2 flex washers. They work on the sensitivity for the star drag. And we have the click mechanism that goes on next. Go. And we have the star drag goes on. So a little trouble getting it into the right groove. There we go. Bring that down, and we have the insert goes on top of that. Let's tighten this down, give it a spin. Okay, we got ourselves a nice functioning reel there. Okay, let's go over to the other side then after we put the handle on, and we will work on the spool side. There's a bearing in there that we want to get done. Then we'll grab that cap. Do this by hand because it's easy to cross strip the cap nuts. You don't want to do that. And again, if you don't have a Daiwa tool, like I don't have the Daiwa tool, this pen wrench is working, so that's a good thing. Line the hole for the set screw up with the hole in the handle. Put that handle back on. Put that screw back on. And then we can go over to the other side. Alrighty, nice reel. Just like that Trinidad was. There's not much difference between these. Alrighty, take a look over on this side then. We've got the same situation, bunch of side plate screws, so let's take these out and lay these off to the side. just to make sure that we have the proper ones in the proper positions. And again, these seem to have been salted in pretty good here, so you just want to be careful. You don't want to snap them. Don't use any ridiculous amount of torque on these or that. Just walk them out as best you can. Yeah, these are full of salt. So one of my recommendations to my customer is going to be to hose the reel down more frequently than he does, because there's quite a bit of evidence here that that salt is accumulating after the trips, and it will lead to a situation for sure where you'll one day you won't be able to walk that screw out. You'll wind up snapping it, and then you'll be out of luck. Okay, still laying them down. They're all the same size. That's always a good thing. And again, if there's one that's longer than the others, you just want to note where it is so that when you go to reinstall, you put it in the right position. Okay, that's that. That plate should come off now. Oh, one more. There we go. So only one, the one on the top seemed to take all that salt. The rest of them seem to have Loctite on them or something. Alright, just going to do the same thing we did before. We should be able to pull this off now. When in doubt, go to a little lever like a wedge. There we go. Alright, we're off with that. We have a spool here we want to pull because there's a spool bearing that we want to oil. No, it's not a spool bearing. Or is it? It says it's a spool bearing on the diagrams. Okay, no. Take care of it regardless. Seems to be a little bit of salt in here. Let's get that out while we're at it. And we can just reinstall. So I like these reels better than a lot of the reels that are on the market out there, because I don't like the lever winds. There's a bearing back here. We're going to make sure we get oiled. I don't like level wind features on these reels personally, and some folks do. Some folks become dependent on them. I don't like them, so just as well. Alright, line the case back up. We have those screws, and do our best to get those done, and we're pretty much done with the Saltiga. So nice reel. It's well made. It's a high-speed reel, and it's got good capacity because of the introduction of braid. It's inshore fishing for certain, and it can bring in some pretty heavy fish. It's a good compact design. A lot of the fishing reels are going that way these days with lighter tackle. That's okay if you want to fish that. And this is all a result of the braid revolution. It enables you to put a lot of capacity of some pretty heavy density line on a smaller footprint. Okay, I'm going to just tighten down two more, do another test drive, and we'll be off, and this one will be going fishing again. One more to go. So if you like these, please subscribe to my channel. It's what keeps my channel going. If you have questions or comments, by all means leave them. I try to answer all of those. And even if it's not on this particular reel, if you have a different reel, there we go. A nice reel ready to do some damage out there. Go catch some more fish. Alright, that's the Saltiga 20. And it's a nice reel ready to go fishing again. So I hope you've enjoyed it. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Thank you for watching. This is a post-production note on the servicing of the Daiwa Saltiga 20. We were following off of this schematic, which showed that the two flex washers that belong in the stack on the handle go outside of the bearing, and indeed the reel that this came from, those two flex washers belong under the click mechanism and under the bearing, so they belong back here. So that is a difference in the setup of this particular reel. I just wanted to call that to your attention. If you are working on it, make sure you have the right diagram and pay particular attention to the way that these washers come out of that stack on the handle. So please note that. It could go either way. In this case, they belong under the bearing. Thank you.